Okay, so my a bunch of my trades, my shorter term trades, held really well. My precision entries were perfect. My model was perfect. Everything held. We bounced exactly when I expected to. Some of the trades didn't quite break out. Some did. But now it looks like on a lot of them we're running out of steam on the 4 hour model. Cake not as much, but things like ADA or ETH and even like BTC, you can see we're turning south. And since the Stoke model has been so reliable lately, you can see like on ADA for instance, right? We had to move up with the Stoke, and then the price came down right as we got a full reset on the Stoke oscillator. Stoke moved up, and we didn't get that much of a move up, and now we're coming back down. So there's two ways this can happen. We get a small dip, and then it breaks out, or we get a full retrace here, in which case it may dip down and hit my stop loss, and then I'll take a small loss, and then it breaks out. Because I'm still overall bullish about the breakout, right? I still think things are going to break out, but I don't want a small dip to happen. So for all of my trades that are midterm holds or long-term holds where I don't have a tight stop loss, or I have no stop loss at all, those are fine. I can leave those. But the ones that I got into last night that were these really precise trades, as well as my model held up, some of them just didn't quite break out, and a little dip like that could end up stopping me out. So in the case of like, HOT for instance, I got a nice little breakout. Yeah, Jen, I'm almost done. Just doing a quick update. I had a nice breakout, and 2 minutes. So I had an 11.5% breakout, and I didn't sell. Now I'm sitting on a 3.3% profit right now. We're dipping down on the Stoke, although this is kind of mid-range, so it's not like we've had a full reset. And if I look at the daily on HOT, the daily's still bullish. So we have enough. I have enough here where I think if I get a short-term dip, it won't stop me out. So I'm going to leave hot. Let me go through each one. I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. And as soon as I'm finished with the video, I'm going to execute those trades. Cake, I'm leaving open. That was a great precision entry. Broke out for 10%, got rejected at the bottom of the cloud. One of my key Ichimoku dynamic supports. This was a short-term trade. I obviously have a lot of long-term cake as well. I'm risking 3% on this one. I don't know if it'll dip down below the prior bottom, so I don't think I'll get stopped out, but I'm willing to risk it on cake. So I'm going to leave this trade as is. If you can't afford the risk and you got into these trades with me, you don't have to leave it open. You could close the trade at a tiny profit or at break even and then get in later so you don't risk losing capital. That's why I always say everybody has their own risk tolerance and their own risk profile. You shouldn't blindly follow my trades because you might not be able to afford that risk. If you can't afford a 3% loss, then don't leave your stop loss 3% below your entry. Close out that trade. Hold on. Rosie, hey, pup. Come here, girl. Upstairs. Come here, pup. Good girl. Go upstairs. Good puppy. Alright, so that's for that one. The cake of the cake example. So now for ADA. Now ADA, I'm really bullish on. I think this has a huge breakout potential. We have a falling wedge, which I love. The bottom of the cloud has been really strong support, but in this case, my stop loss is pretty tight. It was only 2.75% below my entry. I think that there's enough support here that we can get a small short-term dip without stopping me out. So I'm going to leave this one open too. HOT, I'm going to leave that one open. FTM is back down to my entry already. There's a strong support there. I'm risking 2.5%. If I was up still, I would probably sell for 5 or 7% profit, but I'm going to let this one ride. If I lose 2.5%, I'm okay with that. Again, if you can't afford to lose 2.5% and you are in this trade with me, you don't want to sell the trade, or you don't. You might not want to leave it open if you can't risk losing 2.5%, right? You might want to move your stop loss up a little bit, or you might want to sell and close the trade. It's a personal decision in each one of these cases. FIL, got the initial breakout, held at my support so well, and it's back up since then. I'm sitting at a 4% profit now. In this case, the Stoke model hasn't been that accurate, so I'm not as worried about this one. And there's a lot of support down here with all these Ichimoku dynamics. Like, look, the 55 EMA held so well on all these candles over here, and then a couple wicks that did break down held at the 99 EMA. So I like my Ichimoku dynamics on this one. I don't think there's a chance. I really don't think I'm getting stopped out on this short-term dip, so I'm going to leave that one open. Key. Now, Key, we actually had a pretty good model. I had a 25% breakout. I did take profit, and then I bought back in over here. Now, we got the initial breakout, and then we dip back down, but we're so close. We're sitting right at my entry, so I'm actually going to close. I still have my original position open because I only sold half. So I still have 50% of my position open from my original buy. I'm going to leave that position open. But the second entry I got into last night, that low risk entry where my stop loss was only 1.4% below my entry, I'm actually going to dump that right now on my phone because I don't want it to keep going down. I'm going to sell this because it's pretty much at my entry. So I'm getting out of this trade as if I never entered it. And then once I decide if I want to get back in, maybe this horizontal support, this yellow line, was a really good horizontal support. So if that ends up holding here for the next 47 minutes and we start another candle and the next candle begins to recover early and we don't actually start to recover, dip down on the Stoch, I might buy back in. But I'm going to get out for now on that recent entry only while leaving my initial position open. I'm just doing that on my phone. Hold on. Multitasking. Dash. So Dash, I am still sitting on 4.5% profit. The Stoch's been somewhat reliable for Dash, and there's a lot of resistance here with the EMAs, which is exactly where we're getting rejected. Let's see what the daily looks like. The daily looks like it could come down further. I'm going to close Dash out and just take my 4.6% profit. All right, so I got these trades are all set. RVN. So RVN also a lot of resistance up there. We never really got the breakout. I still think it's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm sitting at almost 4% change profit now, and it looks like we're starting a dip. So Dash and RVN are very similar. So I'm going to close RVN2. VTHO was a sick breakout for 25% on my second entry. My original entry pumped 62%. I did take some profit on the way up, but I held most of that original position and my newest position. I'm just going to leave this one open. I'm going to let this reset because, look, we had a run up and a come down, a run up, and now we're coming down on the Stoch. And look what happened. The initial run up, that retrace was much smaller than the move up. So there's a really good chance, especially with all the support we have at the top of the cloud and then the EMAs as backup, there's a really good chance that VTHO is going to hold and give me a whole other leg up so I can get back up to these highs at like 68, 70 up here. So I'm going to hold this one and I'm going to leave VTHO open completely. My algo short-term trade, I'm not as confident on this guy. I'm sitting on 4% and change profit now. I had an 11% breakout, but it never broke into the cloud, right? Because that's main resistance. The bottom of the cloud is my Ichimoku dynamic resistance. Never broke in, and now we're sitting on this trend line support. So in this case, I'm not going to close the trade for profit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set my stop loss up here at my entry. I'm sitting at like 4% profit now. I'm just going to move my stop loss to my entry on algo, and that way if it does dip, at least I won't take a loss. So that's my play for algo. And then my other newer short-term stuff, I don't think there's anything else. I think that covers it. There are some trades that are starting to look bullish now that are kind of off-timed. You know, sometimes you'll have Tomo is breaking out, but some of these other ones have been correcting. There are some assets now that are starting a bullish formation while everything else is beginning to correct. So XMR, I just got the initial breakout from the falling wedge. I think it might come back down and test the 222 or the top of the wedge. I'm actually going to close XMR out risk-free. Back at my entry price. It's a tiny bit above my entry, so I'm going to do that. All right, and I think that covers it. I don't think I have anything else. That's my newer short-term trades. And then when I identify which I want to get into, oh man, my long-term Tomo entry is killing it right now. From then, I'm up 60% on Tomo. That's awesome. I gotta let the group know. I actually might sell. I'm gonna sell half of that. I'm gonna sell. I'll tell the group. I'm gonna sell half of my long-term bag. All right, and I gotta go because Jenna needs some help with the kids. All right, so that covers it for now. If there's anything I forgot, I will update you guys later, but I'm pretty sure that covers it. So again, to recap, I'm taking 4.6% profit and closing my dash trade, closing my recent entry on Key, break even, so I'm not losing anything. I'm selling right at my entry price. I closed my RVN position for 4.5, although no, I didn't finish setting that order. I got to do that really quick. I never finished my RVN or Algo. Algo, I'm about to close that out with placing my. Oh no, I'm going to move my stop loss up on Algo, so it'll be risk free. My stop loss is going to my entry price, so it'll be a risk free trade. RVN, I'm closing that for a 4.5% profit. And then my XMR trade, I'm just closing that out right at my entry price, a tiny bit above my entry price, so I'll take a tiny profit. And then we'll see what happens. If the trades that I'm keeping open end up breaking out, great. And the ones that I closed, if they start to turn bullish and it looks like they reverse before getting into that bearish dip, I could always buy back in. But this way, I'm reducing my risk and I'm closing out some positions for profit. So even if the rest of my trades were to tank and I were to take a loss with my tight stop losses at 2% below my entry, 3% below my entry, even if I took those tiny 2 and 3% losses, my profits on the other trades cover that, right? So if all of my remaining open trades were to tank right now and crash to zero, I'm still going to walk away with a profit on the day no matter what. Just because I closed a couple of my trades at a 4 or 5% profit, that ensures that I have enough profit that it'll cover any losses that I take if my other stuff were to fail. So that's my update for now, and I will update you guys more later. I'm going to share this publicly too. Normally, obviously these are just for the group, but since I shared my last video with these short-term entries, I shared it publicly, and I gave a freebie to the Telegram group and stuff. I'll share this one publicly too. All right, that's it. Thank you guys.